Northern Ireland. If you've been following Brexit, then you've probably heard a lot about this place. The reason for that is this. Actually, it looks like this. Northern Ireland is the only land border between the UK and the EU. In 1998, it was agreed that there would be a free and open border between these two parts of the island of Ireland, and since 2005 there haven't been any checkpoints. However, Brexit poses a risk to this. Not least because if you know anything about Northern Irish history and politics, then you know that putting a border here would not be the most welcoming of ideas. Historical and political reasons aside, people are concerned about a hard border due to the sheer inconvenience it would create in terms of travel and trade. Every day people cross the border in order to commute, visit family and friends and deliver goods. There's also the issue that this is not what the majority of Northern Ireland voted for. The UK-wide referendum result was 52% leave and 48% remain. However, in Northern Ireland the result was 44% leave compared to 56% remain. Everyone seems to agree that a so-called hard border is a bad idea. This includes the main Northern Irish political parties, the Democratic Unionist Party and Sinn Féin, the British government, the Irish government and the EU. However, each side seems to have their own idea of what the solution should be. The Irish government wants the whole of the UK to remain in the single market and the customs union, or at the very least just Northern Ireland. Though this is unlikely to happen as the EU insists that access to the single market means accepting the free movement of people, and staying in the customs union would mean that the UK cannot strike up its own free trade deals with the rest of the world. Taking control of immigration and trade were two central points in convincing people to vote Brexit in the first place. Keeping just Northern Ireland in both the single market and the customs union seems like a good solution, however not everybody's on board with this idea. The DUP opposed it as it would mean creating a new kind of economic border along the Irish Sea, essentially cutting them off from the rest of the UK. Not to mention the Scottish government would likely want the same, and if not given, well, you can guess where that road leads. The UK government on the other hand has proposed that technology could be the key to having an open and free border. However, not many have taken this idea too seriously. During the first stage of negotiations between the UK government and the EU, it seemed like Northern Ireland would be granted some kind of special status, perhaps allowing it to stay within the single market and the customs union. But talks fell apart when the DUP pulled the plug on the whole thing, as treating Northern Ireland as something separate from the rest of the UK seemed like a slippery slope to United Ireland. Side note, the DUP was able to do this because the British Prime Minister Theresa May, in an attempt to secure a larger majority in Parliament, called an election, as it seemed likely she would crush the opposition. But the election backfired, and instead of increasing her majority, she lost it. This left her Conservative Party with little choice but to turn to the DUP, who now had 10 members in Parliament. Back to the discussions. After some tweaking of the final draft of the Phase 1 agreement, a deal was struck in which it stated, "The United Kingdom remains committed to protecting North-South cooperation and to its guarantees of avoiding a hard border, which include any physical infrastructure or related checks and controls." However, it also stated that the United Kingdom will ensure no new regulatory barriers develop between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom. This makes it difficult to see how there's a practical solution to the border issue. The UK says it will leave both the single market and the customs union while being committed to maintaining the current border arrangement between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, but refusing to treat Northern Ireland separate from the rest of the United Kingdom. How this will all be resolved depends solely on the second stage of negotiations.